Today I'm going to be answering the question, does size matter? Hi, so this week in my soft pastel group I was asked the question, does size matter? Now the question specifically was about this piece here. This is the tutorial from this week. It's an 8x8 piece and I was asked what the difference would be if they sized it up to 24 inches square. So that's basically 2 foot square. Well, the difference is actually huge, because if you think about the square area of this, you're going 9 times bigger. So if I can just show you this one, this is the reference image I used, 8x8, and then this is these little rocks down here. You can see those little rocks down there, sized up to what they would be if it was 24 inches square. Quite a difference. So what difference does that make when you're making the marks on the paper? So we're going to explore that today. So here's the original painting, here's the reference photo, and here is the rocks at the front, so down here, blown up to what they would be if it was 24 inches square. And if I just hold this above the rock, you can see that actually it is 9 times bigger than this. It actually looks more than 9 times bigger. That's that little rock there, that is that one there, and that is that one there. So you can see it's approximately 9 times bigger. So we're going to have to put more effort into making this rock look realistic than when we did this rock just down here. This rock was basically a few strokes, like 3. I did a mid-tone there, a light tone and a dark tone. And so here we're going to do the same. So I've just added some of the background colour, and then I'm going to put in my mid-tone, and thinking about the shape a lot more. And then I'm going to put in my dark tone at the bottom. And then I'm going to add some light on top. Now with the other one it was literally 3 strokes. This one we're going to have to be a little bit more fussy and do a little bit more blending to get this to look like a stone. Obviously it's a similar effect, or a similar technique even, but you just need to put more work into it. So something that's 9 times as big, you're going to have to spend probably not 9 times as long on it, but you are going to have to spend much longer. And also what you notice when it's much bigger is the colours, the range of colours. And on this small size, our colours are okay, they're roughly right, and down here in the front of the picture, in the big scheme of things, it's not really important to have this exactly the right colour. We've just chosen 3 midtones, but over here it's really significant and obvious that I'm not using the right colours, but that doesn't matter because it's the colours I've used in the actual painting, so it would all work together. But it's not I'm being put off doing this because I can see it's the wrong colour. So everything is just much harder, really. And I'm going to have to really work at getting this rock looking rock-like, whereas before it was just a very simple 3-stroke process. So now I'm going to want to fiddle and put some pencil colours in there. I'm going to put some of this magenta in there to reflect more of the colour that I'm seeing. So a nice bit of magenta in there, and I'm going to have some more light on top. So I'm going to go brighter on top now. I didn't use any pencils on the other one. I think I'll add a bit of an orange in there as well. And I'm going to have to come a bit darker underneath now to make my light area look lighter. Get more orange in there. It's catching the sun. And then down the bottom I'm going to need to go darker. And I'm going to have to put some shadow in, so I'm going to put some bit of the magenta in and a bit of the black. Okay, that's kind of okay. I can live with that. And then I'll do the one above. So that is more blacky blue colour. On this one, I just put that one to the side. So perhaps I could just put it to this side. So that's the end is dark. So in general, you're just going to have to think a lot more about your shapes and how they make a realistic rock. Do you want to spend that much time doing realistic rocks, or do you want to do something else? And my thoughts are I'd rather do something else than spend hours painting rocks. If you started painting rocks all day, every day, you'd get a lot quicker at it, obviously, and you'd be fine working all this out, and it would be second nature. But if you don't do rocks every day, you have to learn and just go a little bit slower when you're doing them. This is a bit of blue now, and I don't think I added any blue in that rock over there. So you can see the difference between creating these rocks. They actually look like boulders now, don't they, compared to our little small ones down here. Compared to doing it this size. So not only are we going to have to think a lot more about these shapes, getting some good colour in there, it's not just a matter of using 3 simple colours with your tones, your light, your medium and your dark tone. You need to also think about all the little things that are going on in between here. And these smaller ones are going to be easier, obviously, because they won't need so much attention, but you're going to have to put an awful lot more of them in. So overall, if you're thinking about going bigger, it's not just a case of everything's going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be a case of everything has a little bit more detail, or even a lot more detail, and there's going to be a lot more colour in there, and you're going to have to think a lot more about how those marks are formed with your pastel sticks. Here's another example of 2 peacocks done from the same reference photo, just different sizes. So this one is my new beginner's peacock in my beginner's extension pack, and it is just over 6 by 6 inches, and this one is 8 by 8 inches. So on face value it doesn't seem like it's such a big difference, but the 6 by 6 inches is 36 inches squared, and the 8 by 8 inches is 64 inches squared. So that is almost double the area. So if you look at just the eye, you can see the size in the eye. It is almost double the size. So when you're doing something double the size, you really do have to think a lot more about the marks that you use. You've still got the same tones, but what we really have to be really careful about and think about more is our feather marks coming down here. And this one took me twice as long to get all these feather marks right. I think this one took me 2 hours and this one took me a little bit over 4 hours. And it really was a lot more complicated thinking about the direction of these strokes and getting all of this round here correct, because the fur direction adds to your 3D effect, and if you don't get that right, it's not going to give you such a strong image. It's just not going to work so well. It's not going to look as realistic. These areas round here as well, I had to put more detail into here. I had to add more of the little dots that you see, and down here as well I had to add more dots. Over here it's a bit plainer, a bit simpler. I actually prefer this one because there isn't so much detail. On this one I had to think a lot about whether I wanted to use pencils to make it more realistic so I could get finer lines, or whether I just wanted to use soft pastel. With this one I only used soft pastel for the fur because it is a beginner's lesson, but also because I didn't feel like the pencils would add much to it. And this one I had so much more space, twice as much space to get the detail in, and I did kind of get carried away with the detail, and I had to rein it in a bit and not be so fussy about it, so standing back a bit and giving myself less detail in there. The beak was quite similar, but I had to add more detail around here to make it look realistic. And in fact I do think the beak on this one looks a bit more realistic. So have a go and play around with sizes yourself and see what difference it makes to you and your artwork.